Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristin.
This is So I'm Watching Teen Wolf Season 4, Episode 4.
The Benefactor.
That's a good note to start. Okay. Hot take. Medium take. Hot take. I actually think I love Season 4. My issue is, and trust, I'm sure we'll explore it in real time as we go through, I think the Benefactor is dumb.
Sure.
So I do remember broad strokes what we're building towards.
Yeah.
And I remember not liking it.
I don't think the notion of the Benefactor is dumb. I think the reveal of the Benefactor is dumb.
Yeah, I hated that. I think the notion of it so far is clunky, and I think I remember feeling like I know that they've played around with the concept that the supernatural being a secret is the town's worst kept secret.
Sure.
But having everyone just sort of be in on it and having this list all of a sudden feels...
I'll give you that. Because I also don't mind the list. The Deadpool is kind of whatever to me. The thing that annoys me is how did these other high school students...
teenagers.
How did Garrett and his girlfriend Violet find this out?
That doesn't make any sense. If it was roving gangs on PCP that was coming in and killing children, killing students.
Well, but also it's we already have the mute who is also looks like some kind of supernatural thing and is carrying out these assassinations, and that's one thing. But then to just have their classmates doing it as well
and to be so
bizarre.
Confident and to be so
it's very smug and gross.
Yeah. For a show that takes a lot of care developing the characters, I mean, this is an entire episode somewhat dedicated to Liam's first transformation. I started to say transmission. First transformation and Malia's ongoing.
Yeah.
And it's and it does, as I recall, throughout kind of the show, it does stagger things in a way that it feels fresh. Because that was always one of my biggest critiques about the critiques of the Disney Star Wars movies about how Rey didn't train enough. And I'm like, we've already seen what that looks like.
Also,
we don't want to see it.
Nor did Luke. Let's just be real.
He was on Dagobah and a certain amount of more canonical time passed than we don't need it. And it's I like that this show, because I mean, when you consider that all of season 1 is Scott learning how to be a werewolf, we don't need to watch
everybody,
let alone 2 at the same time.
100%.
And so by staggering the plot this way, it was very 2 birds with 1 stone. And I'm sure we'll touch back on the Benefactor stuff plenty. But looping back around to my initial point, I actually love this season. I think that this is such good ensemble character work.
Sure, I'll give you that.
I'm not sharing my basement.
Actually, it's my basement.
All right, she's still learning.
We're gonna use the boathouse for Liam. It's got support beams.
But how do we get him out to the lake house if he doesn't trust us?
I see if it keeps him from murdering someone, we just chloroform the little bastard and throw him in the lake.
I'm in.
We're not killing or kidnapping him.
Then let's be smarter. We tell him there's a party and invite him.
You're gonna ask out a freshman?
No, I'm done with teenage boys. But if we're playing a trick on someone, let's use the trickster.
Who, me?
You know what they call a female fox?
A vixen.
Me?
And the fact that they're all kind of in different movies, not quite different genres, but I mentioned this in one of our previous episodes where I was like, Scott and Kira are really doing this moon-eyed, star-crossed lovers thing.
But also kind of like you said, kind of like sleepaway camp where they're leaning into the slasher movie mistakes.
You said you were like, why on earth would they even be? Because we are still doing our watch-alongs. If you want to watch along with us, patreon.com/soimwatchingthisshow, $3 tier, blah, blah, blah.
Mostly Kira. My issue is Kira, trying hard, giving it her all to distract Scott and make him wolf out. And I'm like...
So how are you so good at staying in control in a full moon?
A lot of it's about making sure that my pulse doesn't get too fast.
So you've mastered it?
Still takes a lot of concentration.
So if something distracts you?
I mean, why are you trying to get him distracted?
I'm indistractable.
I doubt that very much.
He's like a dog.
Yeah. I know you're immune or whatever, but...
Well, she's a dreamer, though. And I think, What?
If he goes full wolf, like if she distracts him enough that he fully shifts, he might still hurt her.
But wait, sure. But no, when you bring back in the teenage sexuality metaphor, I think that this is the first time. And you're right, they did mention she had a boyfriend before, but I would chalk that up to just platitudes.
Sure.
I'm treating this like this is her first boyfriend.
Sure.
Like she's had a taste of it,
Yeah.
and I think she's flirting with danger, and I think that's part.
Haven't we had enough of that? I'm sick to death of it.
But I think she feels empowered, and I
get
think
it. I get it.
I actually see it as very empowering, and even just removing them from the school or their houses and placing them at the lake house,
Sure.
it creates a layer, a sleepaway
Yeah.
camp type layer. And one of the things that I have always loved this show, and I praise it, it is probably what makes it stand out for me as my quote unquote favorite show, is how they do miracles with so little money.
Mm.
They work magic. It's similar to like The Magicians, because that show, you want to see a show.
Shoestring.
Get every penny out of that budget. Look at that castle. Fillory, that's that. Holland Roden had a Teen Wolf podcast last year, maybe. It was for the movie, and they only did season 1, and I'm really bummed because I wanted to keep going, but I think Paramount Plus, it was like the streaming wars, and everybody was trying to pull out all the stops, and when the streaming wars kind of deflated, it just got scattered to the wind. So, Holland, if you're out there, I love you. I think you're great. You were good at the show. I would listen to more.
Well, not for nothing, it took Kristen Bauer and Deborah Ann Wall like a whole year to start doing the next season of
Did
theirs.
it really?
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
I wondered.
I don't know if that means anything, but they started doing season 2.
I wondered.
Yeah.
Holland's a really good host, because they were having her host the Wolf Watch after show.
Yeah.
And actually she was really good with Colton Haynes, because they have
really good chemistry.
It's tales old as time.
Yeah.
But she would talk a lot about the behind the scenes stuff in ways that, like, for me as a super fan and as a creator myself, it was like interesting but also helpful.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how much they worked with, because this show kind of has, it's Russell Mulcahy and I can't think of the other director.
Tim Andrew?
Yes. Their history is in horror and like commercials and music videos and stuff. And like Jeff Davis would talk about how they just knew what they were doing in like a very old school sort of way. And they would always find ways to make the shots look interesting with lighting and with framing and like, and I mean, it was very guerrilla style when they were filming the show. It was boots on the ground stuff. And you get that in this episode, like the entire boathouse of the lake house.
Yeah.
I was like mentioning in our watch along, but I was like, there's water. Like they brought water into an indoor set.
Or they at least did enough that makes it feel like there's definitely water.
Well, because you could see the reflection. And I'm telling you, I bet you they had a foot pool that they wheeled in. And it's not realistic. Like it doesn't look like
a lake.
It doesn't look like nature, but it creates a coherent
ambiance
feeling, a coherent scene. It really works for me. It really does a lot. And I also like kind of how we're at such a sweet spot where the cast is firing on all cylinders because we have, and the way we've specifically at this point sprinkled in new people.
Yeah.
We've already established Liam. This is Mason's introduction.
Mason, there's got to be something going on.
You remember we're freshmen, right? We just got off a school bus. We're not exactly going to be hitting the clubs till 4 a.m.
Okay, movie at your place 9.
Yeah.
He's immediately a standout.
Well, and he gets such good scene with Lydia. Yeah.
Who is now the de facto grand dame of the show.
Yeah.
What are you doing up here? The party's downstairs.
I was looking for Liam.
Sorry, but missing freshmen are a little low on my priority list. I might have seen your friend downstairs. Harvey! No, God, no!
Was it valuable?
No. Nothing in here is valuable. We just put the house on the market.
It'll come out. It will.
And it's like, he's cute. I'm interested. He's not a stud in the way that some of the other guys are presented.
Yeah.
And you can tell they're sort of mirroring the Scott and Styles. But it's like, I immediately want to know and understand his relationship with Liam.
Yeah.
He registers as smart and not so much sensitive, but the fact that, like, his interactions with Lydia.
Well, because she's having a full mentee B. She's like, she is fully like, this party is happening apropos of basically nothing. She's not planned for it. She's not supposed to be having this many people to the lake house. And so they're going nuts. Garrett opened a bottle of $400 wine.
Well, because there's that scene in the beginning where Lydia's mom is like, okay, you can have 6 people max. Don't touch the wine.
Yeah.
And when she said that, I was kind of like, you know, those 16-year-olds and they're red.
Well, 16-year-olds will drink whatever you put in front of them, basically, as we see, because, you know, Mason Dye is just like, half that bottle's gone.
That bottle of wine is $400.
Hey, he paid for the keg. He's a stand-up guy.
He is a mercenary.
I don't know.
He is a mercenary.
I know. We've seen it. I'm not gonna play that game. But that goes bringing.
He talked about God too much in Stranger Things. Okay.
So you're not only punishing him for sins of a different production, but through time.
Yep. From 1986 until now.
What is his name in this?
Garrett.
We need to do that because Mason is going to get confusing.
I agree. And also there's like Liam, but his name is Dylan, but Dylan O'Brien. And then
it gets hard for us.
Isn't Theo's real name Liam?
Cody Christian.
Cody, yeah, okay.
There's Cody Santague.
Oh, okay.
So you end up with a lot. That's why a lot of times I defer to last names.
Sure.
Like I say Hecklin and Sprayberry.
Yeah. Also, young Derek's name is Ian. And I was like, are you fucking shitting me?
It's like a Bryan Singer pool party over here.
Oh, God. That was quite a thing to say. I was going to make a joke about me and Rachel and our dating history and how we, like, cycle through the same 3 names for our whole lives.
I'll pull the Family Guy Teen Choice Awards.
Chad Zachary, Zach Chadwick, Chad Chaddenson, C. Zachary Chad,
Zach Chattery Zadwick.
Oh boy,
I'm like actually really jazzed because I'm remembering now how much I really do like the like character stuff and all that. Yeah. Well, I was gonna compare like Mason to Garrett because it's like we can just tell immediately that he's a little shit.
Garrett,
yeah. And so to
just
have
had that with that face on your face, I'm like,
that's why I kind of feel like we should watch Flowers in the Attic, especially when you consider it in a very weird.
Is he Christopher?
I don't remember their names. He's the boy.
Yeah, Christopher.
He's very sweet in that because he's against Kiernan Shipka.
Yeah,
and I feel like we should because that's weirdly kind of what started this whole endeavor.
I've seen 3 of them.
Did we watch them?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that.
I've for sure seen 2.
Okay.
I think I've seen 3 of them.
Heather Graham in old age makeup.
Yeah. Very stupid.
But just on the face?
Yeah, not the hands. Like standard 40-year-old.
Bombshell hands. Okay. You were talking about Lydia. Because even that, I love how they write, and particularly how Holland plays Lydia, because there's 3 Lydias.
Yeah.
And we got all 3 of them in this episode.
Yeah.
Because she always acts savvy and in control. But you're right. It's like as the part, and even when the party's happening, she's like, I got this. And she don't got it.
No.
She thinks she's got.
Yeah.
And she don't.
Well, and so that kind of leads back into the whole like mercenary aspect of it, because somebody orders a keg and gets it delivered, and she's like, I didn't do this, and it certainly wouldn't have been domestic if I did. Which again, who are these children drinking imported beer? So that wraps it back up into the whole mercenary thing, because the guy delivering the keg is like, she's like, what's this extra $100 for? So that's 2 things about the money. Because her mom made the comment about the basement being full of scratches because Malia's down there. And he's like, yeah, that's the you look 21
fee
surcharge.
I call that the yes you do look 21 to me surcharge.
And then he winked at her.
Which was pretty gross. But he doesn't deserve to die for that.
No, but that's another place where each time, I forget every time I've seen this, where I'm like, who is this day player that they really brought in? And I'm like, oh, because you can just kind of tell sometimes, like, the caliber of actors. And it's because he served a different purpose, because he is a werewolf. Yeah. And then Garrett's girlfriend kills
Violet.
him.
Yeah, I don't really
I don't think she's around for long. Like, I think it's...
Well, I would be, like, shocked if she was, because, again, it's just, like, the smugness of them both being like, and
I will say, I mean, that checks that teenagers would be that smug,
Sure.
but it doesn't mean it's enjoyable to watch.
100%. 100%.
Especially when the way it's positioned, even though they're not directly acting against Peter Hale, they're sort of positioned as threats to him. Sure. And it's like, in what reality are those snot-nosed?
Look,
like,
Ian Bohen is not a very tall guy. Mason Dye is shorter than him.
I mean, he may not be very tall, but he is stacked, because we got to see in this episode.
The axe was laced with wolfsbane.
Good lord.
One of the species, so to burn it out.
I already said it once, I won't say it again.
What?
I think
Hatchet
I can
wound.
handle a little fire.
But yeah, and that's sort of what I meant when I was like, we have the cast firing on all cylinders, because we get True Detective Season 5 with Sheriff Stilinski and Derek, and Parrish, investigating.
Who still doesn't know anything. Because at the beginning, the sheriff is like,
let's get everyone off the roof, and I've got an expert of my own coming in to take a look.
You have an expert on teenage cannibals?
5 minutes, Parrish.
and then Derek is just like Batman. It's ridiculous.
It's so good, though. It's so good.
So he's the first one that, like, sniffs out Liam. And this episode was actually packed, because they also, Scott and Stiles have Liam, Scott has Liam taped to the gods in his bathroom. Arms, hands, feet, arms, and legs.
What's the opposite of a Kimbo?
And his mouth. Very straight together.
Very Kim.
Yeah.
Stop!
I know. But he's got him all taped up in the bathroom, so he, like, bit him, and then he kidnapped him, and so they're, like, trying to work around that, and he just, like, basically will not let them live.
Sprayberry is very good at pulling it off. I think he's got Liam on lock.
I agree.
And he's very good at pulling off, I started to say bratty, and bratty's not quite it, but that, like, anger management, like, little guy, like, thing. Yeah. He's really got that. And I know he had a close relationship with Tyler Posey. And I think even still to this day, they're all very chummy. It was a very connected group.
That makes sense.
But,
I like it.
Yeah, so the mute attacked Peter, and Derek saved him. And then the mute was still going around wreaking havoc, and it set a bomb for Sheriff Stilinski and Derek.
Yeah, I hope they dismantled that before the kids go to school tomorrow.
The bell rings. Explosion at Beacon Hills.
Oh, God.
And they fought and had...
Yeah, the sheriff was, like, arresting the mute, and...
He has
the
right to remain silent.
I guess.
You have the right to remain silent.
That's not gonna work.
Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
Oh, Peter.
No, Peter, no!
Got a mouth now.
And then Peter came in and just, like, to shreds, you say.
So we did get that the jargon, the gibberish that Lydia was getting was code. Yeah. She found, like, a safe room in the lake house that was, like, soundproof.
It's the office.
And it's, like, Stanley Kubrick himself engineered it for Banshee training. And...
It is very orange.
Well, it's, like, white, but with orange pops. And so she was listening to the record and the faces on the wall, all very cool. I mentioned it again in our watch log. Do you remember when we were watching this live?
Yeah. Because we were like, because there was already, like, sound stuff going on, like, with the episode. But there was, I mean, at least 5 full minutes. We were watching
it was the whole scene she was in that room. When she shut the door, it was silent, but you could hear the muffled party noise.
Yeah.
But that was it. You couldn't hear any sound effects in the room.
Yeah.
And we were like,
oh my God.
What an avant-garde, like decision.
So cool.
And like
20 minutes later on Twitter, MTV was like, hey guys, there was a sound issue in the like. We're like, shit.
Whoops. And it was kind of like Dylan O'Brien's shirt pocket.
Sure.
In that one where
Yeah.
it's like his shirt changes in that one episode, and we were like, what does it mean?
Yeah.
And it meant there was a
Continuity error.
And so voiced it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she figured out from the faces on the wall that the code was Allison,
Yeah,
which I
and,
think is
like,
kind of dumb.
eh.
And I remember it like I'm trying not to give away too much because we're only 4 episodes in.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't have a problem with any specific thing. I just think that as that plot unfolds, it's very clunky.
Yeah.
Compared to the excellent character building that's happening alongside of it.
I agree.
That creates for a slight disproportionate viewing
Yeah.
experience. But the code word was Allison. They find out there was a Deadpool with a lot of their names on it.
All of them, basically. Yeah. Because also the keg guy, his name was DeMarco Montana, and he was on there too. That's a crazy name.
That's a name. Oh boy.
Yeah.
So, it did end with Liam, Malia kind of finally
had a
conquered
breakthrough,
her. Yeah, had
Her
a breakthrough.
ships.
Liam escaped, but was trapped by Chris Argent.
Chris Argent came back,
who finally either received or answered Scott's
text.
many texts. And Scott kind of laid out
What's going on?
to Liam, and they're stuck.
Yep.
It was so funny him trying to mimic Derek's.
Oh my god.
Liam, we're brothers now.
What?
Oh, God, that's
What are you talking about? We just met and you bit me.
white.
It's a gift.
A gift. Stop.
He's trying to be Derek.
The bite is a gift.
Yeah.
And Styles is like,
He's like, please stop. That was like probably my biggest issue with this episode is that Chris Argent was like, I'm sure it'll work when you use your own words. And I'm like, how do you know what he's been saying to Liam? How do you know he's been saying the Derek stuff?
I mean, Scott was probably like, I've said everything Derek told me to. Because it worked so good the first time.
Fair enough. I would buy that Scott would do that.
Sushi. I think for me, that's going to be the takeaway, is that I actually kind of love season 4, even though it is definitely a point where
you can see
point to and be like, the show changed there.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're going to watch the next one, and then we will talk about it when we're done.
Bye.